Hello, my Deadites. It's time to get our horror on. Welcome to your weekly dose of horror news and fun. This is episode 7 of TerrorVision Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Dan McGuinness, and joining me as always is my co-host, Jennifer, the Dream Warrior Strand. Together we are two people with a love of horror and feel the burn of our obsolete Blockbuster memberships. Jen, how you going?
Oh, what up? I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. How has your week been?
Whew. My week's been pretty busy, actually. End of financial year coming up and whatnot, so preparing for that. Aside from that, I've been revisiting a lot of Friday the 13th movies and just hanging out of the rain, basically. How about you?
Hanging out of the rain. Oh, did you say you're getting ready for the end of year sales? No, end of financial year? That's it, not the end.
Yeah, good old end of financial year. Got to clear out some old stuff and just all that general shit.
We're also doing that as well at my work. Well, in the midst of it, I'm getting hassled to set it up. That's what's really happening.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, and this has been a pretty video gamey week for me because I do my video game on my other podcast, Hack the Dino, and we've had like some big events this week. So we had like the EA event on like last Friday or something where EA showed all their new stuff. So this is basically E3 week right now.
Yep.
All the companies are bringing out all these videos, kind of just keeping that, as if it was still rolling, but it's not kind of thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I've been playing The Last of Us Part 2 and a bit of Fallout New Vegas. That's about
Brilliant.
It, really.
And are you a Cyberpunk person? Because I hear that it's been delayed again and it's caused some, not backlash, just a lot of whinging, really.
Well, it had a bit of backlash, but it's actually had less backlash than you'd think. Most people now are just like, oh, okay, you want to make the game better? Cool.
Yeah, that's what I feel that it would be, right?
Well, no one really knows what the game's going to be like, so they're kind of cool with it. You know what I mean? People are just like, well, we don't even know what we're missing out on, so it's fine.
That's right. I was lucky enough to see some of the video when I went to PAX last year, so they did a whole thing on it. It looks really good. And I just keep wondering, what have you got to fix? What are you doing? This already looks amazing. So, I mean, I don't really personally care about it, but I have people in my life that really care about it. So I have to kind of care by proxy.
Yeah. Well, they did a statement saying that, the game's finished. They're just going through, and because the game's so dense and so many, storylines and stuff, just going through and finding bugs, and they've probably found a couple of bugs that they just want to fix.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm fine with bug fixing. I don't care, man. So many games come out. I have a shame pile of 10 games. It doesn't matter if your game comes out a little bit after, you say, because gives me more time to finish the next game.
That's right.
So that's our week. Anyway, let's get on to what we've been watching. So I'll go first this week. So I've gone on an adventure, a roller coaster ride in what I've been watching this week. So I've been doing
a theme.
Yeah, it's kind of a storyline running through the 3 films, including our homework film. So the first film I watched was the 2013 remake of Evil Dead. Because I said I was going to. It's directed by this, I don't know how to say the guy's name. It's Fred? Fede? Fede?
Yeah. Fede Alvarez?
Alvarez, yeah. So he's done a bunch of horror movies. He's done Girls in the Spider's Web, which is part of that, the girl with the dragon tattoo and all that crap. He did a movie called Don't Panic. Another one called I can't read what that one is.
He did Don't Breathe.
Yeah, and then
really good.
He did Don't Breathe, which I haven't seen, but I'm probably going to look into. So
Please do.
I went into Evil Dead, thinking Evil Dead, and I remember not enjoying this film. And the last time I saw this was in the cinema as a young buck in 2013. And I've got to say, I really enjoyed this remake.
Yes.
I must have been looking at it with holding it too close to my heart, the original or something.
This comes back to the conversation we had last week in which I said to you, do you hate it or did you not enjoy it because it has the Evil Dead title? Or so the rose-coloured glasses? Yeah.
It was definitely a rose-coloured glasses thing. So the difference in this story of this Evil Dead is that they're going to... You don't know if... You assume that Evil Dead, the original one, did happen.
Yes.
Because Ash's car is out the front.
Yes.
Like, his car is like all dilapidated, and they're like left over from the first time around. There's a couple of other little nods to just to say that this is uh, same, in the same world as the original. They reconstructed the cabin, the forest around it. They did it all really, really good. It looked exactly like the cabin. And yeah, there are some shots I want to talk about that actually go in correlation with our movie of the week, our homework. So just try and remind me about that when we get back to it.
Sure.
Yeah, it was heaps better than I remember. It had everything I think what Evil Dead needs to make a good Evil Dead film. Number one, you need the cabin.
Yeah.
Which they had. But they need a good blend of wood, brown tones, wood grain, and blood. I know that sounds weird, but that's what, when you think back to the original Evil Dead, that's what it was. It was all wood. There was blood on wood, and then there was like grayish, like gritty tones and stuff. The thing I didn't really like though was the Necronomicon in this version is the most ham-fisted Necronomicon I'd ever seen. It had writings on the pages that were just so like, someone had written it across every page, like just these cheesy lines like dismember their bodies and all stuff like that in English, but in this like writing as if like a hardcore band was trying to write it on there.
Like some metal freak in high school was sitting at his desk doing it instead of paying attention.
Yeah, it looked like the kind of stuff that kids used to draw on those wooden rulers that you used to get. And I was like, oh, guys, like keep it like that. We can't understand it, and it's just explained with pictures. Don't have a whole bunch of English written over it. But I did think the main guy didn't really cut it in this film. So compared to Ash, he was kind of just like a nobody.
Yeah, well, I think because Jane Levy, who played Mia, I think she was sort of set up to be more of the main character than the guy that actually was like her brother, and he was about as exciting as a piece of cardboard.
Oh yeah, a good bit of cardboard.
Cardboard, yes.
Yeah, he was
yeah.
He was a drink of water. He was every man. He was he was just it was just an erection out in the sun. No one needs him. There were some bits that I thought was a bit strange because it fully just did. I didn't like that it threw a bunch of rules in. I liked the first Evil Dead because it was so ambiguous on what was going on. But they're like, the book read in it like 5 people must die, and then this will happen and this will happen. I'm like, the 5 people is a bit of a weird rule considering like Cabin in the Woods came out and it had like the 5 people had to die kind of thing. I thought it was really weird. It was very Cabin in the Woodsy. The other thing is it didn't really know exactly what it was itself. Like it was. It did not actually. No,
how so? Explain.
No, I'm getting it confused with the other film I watched. Sorry. Ignore that.
That's fair.
The Deadites, the Deadites, as we know, are the Kandarian demon, possessed people. The Deadites were very Exorcist-like. As in, there was they did a lot of talking, and they say stuff like, your mum's getting raped in hell, and all stuff like that, like lines that like Linda Blair was like throwing out. Yeah, like a lot of that stuff, like I'm gonna eat your pussy and all this stuff, like really shocking things. Where I just remember like the Evil Deadites were more just like, we're going to eat you. You know what I mean? Like
it was a little bit more comical in a way as well.
Yeah, where these ones were just saying like hard hitting lines because they wanted to like shock people. Like I thought didn't really need it, and also don't kill a dog. If there's no, just don't kill animals.
No, there are very few things. Like I've watched a lot of films and I've watched a lot of grotesque films that do things that probably no one should ever see. And I don't kill a dog. Just anytime I see a dog pop up in a horror movie, I'm like, no.
It's not even dogs. Don't kill a dog. Don't kill a cat. Like you just don't need to kill them, kind of thing.
No. No.
But yeah. But all around, I was enjoying it. The horror was awesome. Like it really went wicked with it. Like there were scenes in it that I was just like, oh, that's wicked. When like It did a couple of shots where it didn't show what was happening, but the amount of blood spraying up onto the person's face made up for it, because in the next scene, it did show like an arm getting dismembered. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't shying away. It was just doing different versions of all the ways you can do it. And the bit where like the girl, like clearly the standout scene for me was like the nail gun fight scene, and then like you know, her arm gets chopped off, and like, you know, and like there's all this great stuff. I think her hand gets shot off, so she's got no arms. Yeah, the monster, and that was really great. And to see that, the only thing like I got a little confused is they kept saying this dude was gonna come, you know, after for like the demon, this guy, and then it was a girl when it came out.
Well, it was like it was Mia. So it was like a reflection of Mia coming out, just a little bit elongated in the limbs.
Well, because she had it had like the forest rape scene done again, which I thought they could have left out, because I didn't like that the first time around.
It wasn't really necessary, but I guess, like, you know, it's an Evil Dead remake, we'll chuck that in because that screams Evil Dead.
Yeah. But at that moment, she's getting the trees are having their way with it. Like, there is a version of her standing at her, looking at her, and I'm like,
that's right.
They didn't really. Is that the representation of what was coming through the woods? You know, when you can see the point of view of the monster. Is that what it was?
I would say so. Yeah.
Because it seemed to be doing fine without any people. You know what I mean? Like, it had a. I didn't like seeing it at that time. I was like, it's better to leave it that you don't know what's going on, I thought.
Yeah, sometimes it's better not to know and not to see. Let it be a surprise.
Yeah, and then at the end it ran, because I'm going to spoil it, it's 2013 thing. It ran with like, you know, it kind of like did Evil Dead, and then it tacked on its own end bit, which I didn't really like that much. Like the blood rain and of basically fighting a god kind of thing, and I was just like, this is cool. And I like the blood rain. I like the idea of it. I like how much blood's everywhere, obviously, because it's great.
Yeah, clearly.
But it just seemed like they were going through... the blood rain just seemed like a record that they were ticking off with the most amount of blood used in a film or something like that.
Yeah, more than likely.
And once again, this demon gets unleashed onto the world, and it died really easily. Like, it died easier than one of the Kandarian demon possession people. Like, it just died. Yeah. It just got its legs chopped off and it fell over, and then it's got a chainsaw in the face, and it was like, the end.
And I'm dead.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I thought, like, if this thing's a god and it's come back and needs all these like parameters to come out, you know, and stuff, maybe it should have been a bit more powerful than just a flesh. Like, why would it even want to do that? Anyhow, it was still wicked. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Like, when because I saw it at the cinema, I loved it at the cinema. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, it's the same kind of horror movie you see in anything. Like, you count it down, like, oh, the music's getting more intense. 3, 2, 1, bam. Yep, okay, jump scare. I think, like, the violence in this was insane. Like, very few times do I watch a film and sort of cringe at the violence. And I think the 2 bits that I sort of cringed at the most was where he had the needle.
Oh, in his face?
Oh, yeah, I have an eyeball, no eyeball things. No, none of that. But
I thought it was in his eyeball, because it showed his glasses smashing, but maybe it was the same that the glasses were stopping it from going into his eye.
Oh, was he pulling it out of his eye?
Yeah. So the people listening who don't want to talk about, there's a scene where a demon attacks a guy with a syringe and stabs up his face, and then it shows a close-up of him pulling out a needle from his cheek. And it's pretty cool. I thought like her lopping, like doing the old, you know, like Ash having to lop his hand off with a chainsaw thing, and she did it, and like another character, and she did it with like the electric knife, but it fully showed it going into her arm, like, really well. Like, and then it did a cut to the face shot of her with the blood splatting on her face, and it was like someone had just opened a hose of blood onto her face. It was so great. But it was so unrealistic. But I think that's what made that scene great. I was just like, there's no way. That was just them laughing when they were doing it. Like, it's so good. Then
she kind of just sort of stands up, and then it's like hanging there and just sort of drops off to the ground.
Yeah, like she's standing there, and he turns around and she's, I feel a lot better now. And it's on by like one thread and goes onto the ground. Yeah, bit of comedy, bit of good comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scene as well where she's got the Stanley knife and she's just licking it and it's just cutting through. Like, if you've ever cut yourself with a Stanley knife, like, that shit fucking hurt. Like, I felt that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember what that feeling is. Not that I've ever, like, split my tongue open with a Stanley knife or anything, but you've taken off.
You could imagine it would hurt a little bit.
It would hurt. Like,
I've
taken a chunk out of my hand before, but ugh.
I did like the Deadites like disregard for their own personal safety. I thought that's always a thing a Deadite needs. It doesn't care about the body it's hosting. And I think they did that really well in it because I even like that the girl was like nail gunning her own face.
Yeah.
There was heaps of shots of nails going into people. There was a lot of tick boxes in that film for me. Like, I need in a good horror film, I need like a dismembered limb. I need to see the limb getting dismembered. I need to see like a head chopped off or a head crush or explosion.
Yeah.
And like, these are the things I expect to see in a film. So if I don't get that, I feel a bit like I've missed out a little bit.
You've been let down.
But I got everything in it, but then it gave me a whole bunch of stuff I didn't feel like I did need as well.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fair.
I just like the dirtiness of like the blood on the wood, the dusty wood, and that's what I feel like Evil Dead is. Like, like axes, knives. They went through it all because I like I said in the last show, I was completely wrong. I was remembering it differently. Like I just felt there wasn't enough traditional weapons in it, but there were a lot of traditional weapons in it. And
yeah,
I mean the chainsaw did make it smart. There were some but yeah.
I think they had to put the chainsaw in it. It wouldn't have been the Evil Dead without the chainsaw because it's the most iconic thing.
Yeah, and the chainsaw bit was pretty satisfying at the end to see how much blood came out of that as well. But at that point, like the whole world is raining blood. Did it really matter?
Yeah, I mean, the bit where the car like falls on her arm and she's got to like rip her arm out from under the car.
That kind of disappointed me. I was like, oh man, really? Like, is it? There's that thing in horror films that like if the main protagonist gets too smashed up. And you think, well, it's not really worth living after this. Like, and the other thing is I just don't feel you can pull your arm off. No matter how hard you're not strong enough to do that. Like, have you tried to pull even sometimes like a roast chicken leg off and you can't get it off? Like
I like as soon as I hear that pop sound of the bone, I'm out. I'm like, huh? No, I'm done. So I'd just be sitting there like with my arm stuck under the going, well, I guess I'm fucked now. Just come get me because I'm not doing this. This is going to be gross.
Yeah. But overall, man, I gave it like 3.5 stars. So for me, that's pretty good. Like I'm pretty stingy with my stars. Like to get a 5-star out of me, it has to be, that movie that I will watch at any drop of a hat. And it's in my, list of like, it's in that list of like, you haven't seen that film? Oh, we're watching it right now. One of those films, which to me is stuff like Cabin in the Woods. Like, if anyone says they haven't seen that, they have to watch it right now with me right then. Like, no matter what we're doing, if we're, waiting for a bar.
So then pop stars up there for you then, because I remember that time.
Yeah, that's in there. That is definitely in there. But yeah, great film.
Fantastic.
And what do you obviously like it?
I did, I gave it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those films that, because I also like to buy, not that I buy very many physical media anymore. I just don't have the room for it. But it's the kind of thing that I will buy it just so I've got all those special features and I can watch them and sort of be like, okay, how did you do this? And like, what was your impression of this? And I think Jane Levy actually had a video diary of her doing this whole, like, filming the whole thing. And so she'd just come up, like, every day she's just covered in blood. She's like, yeah, well, it's just another day covered in blood. It's fine. But yeah, for me, it did tick all those boxes and I really, really enjoyed it. And it's one of those films that I'll sit there and be like, I could watch some Evil Dead right now. And then I'll usually like watch Evil Dead 2 and then follow it up with Evil Dead and then everybody's happy.
Yeah. Like I said, It gave me everything it needed. It just added a little bit more on there that I think I didn't need. If you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I would have been happy with like the big monster at the end not getting out. Like, I didn't need to see that whole raining blood thing. But that, again, also reminded me of Cabin in the Woods, like the ending of that. Like, it ticked so many of the same boxes as Cabin in the Woods without being Cabin in the Woods. And don't get me wrong, this is not Cabin in the Woods.
Nothing is Cabin in the Woods, okay? Like,
that's like one of my favourite films of all time. I thought the Deadites, though, they did them really well in the fact that, like the original Evil Dead, all of them had a different kind of way they moved and acted. Like, and I liked that. Like, some of them were quite still and they didn't attack. They just kind of moved slowly. Some of them ran at you. I liked when he was down in the flooded basement and the Mia girl was just cruising towards him, like floating above the water. I like that kind of stuff when that happens because there's no explanation of it. You don't need the explanation. And I like the guy who kind of worked out what was going on. You know, there's always that one guy that just somehow works it out.
But I mean, he was the one, and people have said that of me. They're like, "Oh, if you were ever in a horror movie, you're the person who's reading the book and actually lets everything out."
Yeah, you fuck everything up.
Yeah, that does sound like something I do. But yeah, I like him, and he's such a good actor. I think what's his name?
I know.
Lou Taylor Pucci or Pookie?
Pucci?
Pucci? He's in lots of stuff as well, and he's a really good actor, and so it was kind of good to see him in this and in that position as well. So yeah, that worked for me.
Like, I reckon you could do an edit of that film. Just take out a couple of scenes, take out the dog scene, take out the end, and I would enjoy it a little bit.
Be happy.
I just would enjoy it a little bit more. I just felt like it didn't need. But then again, some people like that big thing at the end. But I think, number one, she beat the evil so hard that you wouldn't even do an Evil 2 from there. You know what I mean? Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the end of the story, like death in it. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyhow, Jen, what have you been watching?
Well, I made a terrible decision in my life. I sat down and I watched Evil Toons.
Evil Toons.
Evil Toons, 1992, directed by Fred Olen Ray, who has done an uncomfortable mixture of adult films and children films.
Oh dear. What is this one? And this is the amalgamation of both of them.
So, 4 sexy young girls are sent to clean an old house for new owners. So they get in the middle of the night, someone comes knocking at the door, and that someone is good old David Carradine. And he is not a baddie.
Okay.
But he delivers them an old book full of magic incantations, and while reading it, they accidentally bring a cartoon character to life. And this cartoon character likes the blood of young girls.
Oh dear. Sounds like
is where I
did you tap out there, Nelly?
Pausing for effect because I'm like, okay, the cover kind of looks stupid. I'm definitely going to give that a watch. I was unaware that this film is basically a porno without the porn. You know, this movie is also so gloriously bad. You know, there is an opening disclaimer that this is a true story, and we know this to be true, and blah 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 blah. There's
a cartoon character on the front. You can't have a true story; they don't exist.
So there is a talking Necronomicon. So you're saying that the Necronomicon in Evil Dead was ham-fisted? No. So check out the Necronomicon in this one. It was a very pun-based, so it spoke, and it sort of had that, very attitude oh, you ain't seen nothing yet, and puns galore. And for a talking Necronomicon, it actually wasn't utilized as much as it could have been. I was slightly disappointed by the lack of talking Necronomicon throughout the film.
I'm trying to find a picture of it. There's no
no picture.
I think
we'll find
so it looks. Does it look basically exactly like the Necronomicon? It does. I found a GIF of it.
Yeah, it looks exactly the same. Just slightly worse. But yes, so I start watching this film. By this point I've not looked into anything. I usually wait till I finish before I jump on IMDb and check out fun facts and stuff. But this started out, it was insanely gratuitous. The 4 girls get dropped off. They're bending over in the car, and all you're getting is booty shots, and they're in the shortest shorts that any girl could possibly wearing.
Excellent.
And just this film, the acting was so shitty, and about midway through I'm like, this is so shit that this is basically feels like a bad porn. it's got that really bad pornographic acting, like, oh, and then he fell over there. Oh, go over here, Jan. Why are we going over there? I don't know. And as it turns out, pretty much all of the ladies in this film were adult film stars.
Yeah, right.
And the reason they did, the director brought them in was because they're okay with nudity. So this was going to be a film that just had a lot of gratuitous nudity, and it did. There was just a scene where a girl was standing in front of the mirror, you know, just looking at herself in the mirror, and then she just starts to undress and just starts to rub her boobs and just gets a bit booby, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, why not?
Yep, sure.
I noticed that it's got Mr. Futterman from Gremlins in it.
Mr. Futterman, is that what's his name?
He's the guy that, you know, he blames everything on foreigners in Gremlins.
Is it Dick Miller?
Yeah, I think that's his name, yeah.
Yep. So Dick Miller's in this. He's really good. And what's funny about this is there's a scene where Dick Miller is sitting down watching a film, and I can't remember what the name of that film is, but the film he's watching is actually one of his old films, and he sits there watching it going, man, why didn't this guy win an Oscar for it? Okay, that was like the one little clever thing that this film actually did.
I can't believe what's his name's in it. Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No? Death Race, Kill Bill.
The
animation of the monster looks okay, though.
It does look okay.
That would have taken a lot of time back then. But
it didn't, because this Evil Toon was on screen for a total of, look, I want to say 2 to 3 minutes, but 60 seconds in total sounds more accurate.
Oh, okay.
So this Toon, he comes out, and what's even better is one of the best lines in this film is this girl picks up the book and she's like, what is this, a book or something? Yes, it is, love. And it's the same girl who later on tries to open a screw-top wine bottle with her teeth, and then is at one point on the floor with it between her legs trying to, like, pop it off like it's a cork. So
yeah, right. So
this is quality filmmaking right here.
So what'd you give it?
This film got like 1.5 stars.
Oh, I can see you here.
Yeah, it is so bad, and
it's no matter how bad a film is, there's always like those 5-star people that rate it.
There are so many 5-star reviews for this film. I was shocked because, I mean, like I say, this Evil Toon is on the screen for like probably a total of 60 seconds. He possesses the girl by raping her. So then all of a sudden you've got this girl on the floor being raped by a cartoon, which is very strange in itself. And then she goes off and starts killing people. And then she's fighting with the other girls. And all of a sudden my tops fell off. Oh, your top fell off. My top fell off too. All our boobs are out. Like,
it happens.
It does.
You should know that.
It does. You know, in all my life, it just happens every day. It's a daily thing. This film is so bad that I want to tell everyone, do not bother watching this film. Never watch this film. But on the same time, I kind of want to be like, hey guys, you should check out this film. It's really bad, but it's so good.
I think is it one of those trailer films? Watch the trailer. That's all you need to do.
Yes, exactly. Actually, I'm curious to see what the trailer would actually be like. I might post it on the page and see what everyone else thinks.
I just checked it out. That's how Mr. Futterman was in it.
Sure.
Nice.
Yep. So if you've got nothing to do and there is literally nothing else on TV, check out this film.
Like you don't own any pins to stick in your eyes, you might just want to watch that.
You know, if your Pornhub account's down for the evening, check this out. Sure, why not?
Why not? Or just check it out on Pornhub.
It probably is on Pornhub, to be honest. So
probably is.
God.
Okay, so the second film I watched this week was Drag Me to Hell from 2009 by Sam Raimi. Now, I mentioned my film story. So basically, I started with a film, Evil Dead, which was a remake of a Sam Raimi film. Then I went straight into Drag Me to Hell, which is a Sam Raimi film. And then the film that is our homework for this week is a guy who's making is making a remake of a Sam Raimi film, which is also the remake of the first film I watched.
Yes, and
which was the remake.
Yeah, so and this Lee Cronin, who did The Hole in the Ground, was actually handpicked by Sam Raimi to do Evil Dead. So we'll see how this goes once we've had that chat. But yes, Dan, let's continue.
Drag Me to Hell. Is this very fresh in your mind, this film, Jen?
It's not. I think I watched it. I probably watched it like 10 years ago, but it's been popping up in a lot of like I'm part of a lot of groups on Facebook. I listen to other film podcasts. It's been creeping up into things, and people have been talking about it. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty due for another watch. So
Nah.
There are certain things that are fresh in my mind, certain things that are not.
So for people who haven't seen this film, it's Drag Me to Hell by Sam Raimi. Basically, it involves a girl who works for a bank. An old lady, which I can only describe as a gypsy lady, comes in, because she can't make her repayments on her house, and she turns her down, and so the gypsy lady puts a curse on her, which then it goes for 3 days. This curse for the first 3 days. So the first 2 days you get tormented by shadows and stuff like that, and then on the last day, this demon called the Lamondio, like, started with L. This demon comes and drags you down to hell.
Sure.
And you get this you get this curse put on you by the person taking something that belongs to you and then giving it back to you. So she ripped a button off of her jacket and then gave the button back to her. This old lady, and did the curse.
Okay.
Throughout the film, she goes to like a whole bunch of like psychics, and her boyfriend is that guy that was in Die Hard. Die Hard, he was.
Oh, Justin Boring Face Long.
Yeah, long face long. He has a long face. So he's the boy. He's a rich boyfriend. And the main thing I'm just going to say about this film is I didn't like it. It had way too much bad CG in it. Like bits where it's like Raimi had jumped on the CG train. He's like, oh, we can do all these great things now. We can get on this. And it just wasn't there. You know what I mean? The tech wasn't there. So you had bits like, as examples, that there was a lot of like, the world wasn't reacting very well to the CG. So you had a lot of like, vomit scenes of people getting vomited in their face, but it was like CG vomit. And then you could just tell it wasn't hitting them. And then when they sat up from it or whatever, there was just nothing on their face. Like, it was just gone. Or there's a bit where, like, a body falls on her and all the embalming fluid goes into her face and into her mouth. And she stands up and she's completely dry. And I'm like, And just...
That bothers me.
Bad CG. Like, and really ham-fisted acting. Like, you got a couple of cool actors in there. The guy's name, that Dilip Rio guy, Rayo. Yeah, he's great. He's a good-looking man. He's always great. He plays like a clairvoyant and a psychic that helps her out.
Yes,
he's got great lines. And then, like, they're having the seance, and she just turns to him and she goes like, "I'm scared," and I'm like, "Oh my god, like this is like bad. You're a bad actor, like lady." What was her name? Her name was Alison
Lohman.
Yeah, she just wasn't very good in it. Like, this film just did, like, there was, it tried to do that scary and possession things, like the shadows moving. Every shadow looked like it was just CG on there. You know what I mean? Like, everything was CG in this film. There was hardly any practical effects. There was like, a hanky would, she's driving and a hanky would hit on the front of her windscreen and it would have like a face on it. Yeah, but it was just so CG put on there, and you're just like, The other thing, this film didn't know what it was. It goes from being super serious to pure comedy, and there's no line on what it is. So you just
I just remember the goat.
Yeah, the goat that gets possessed and like starts abusing her, like, bloody little bitch. And I
haven't seen this film in 10 years, and the bloody two things that stick out is all the vomiting and the goat. Yeah,
but there wasn't. A lot of the vomiting was CG, so I just didn't care. There was one scene, I think. No, because the vomiting in I'm getting the Evil Dead one. There's a vomiting scene in Evil Dead in the 2013 where she vomits the blood onto the and it's gross.
Yeah.
It's got bits of food in it and everything, and it's the most great blood vomit. And in this, like, there is a blood vomit scene, but that is probably the best bit in the whole film. Like, and I'm just like, it just didn't cut it for me. there's some possessions in it where people get possessed, and they're just basically the Evil Dead possessions. Like they float and they're like, "I will eat your soul," and I'm like, "Come on, man! Like that is, like, I mean, that's Evil Dead. Don't bring Evil Dead into this thing because you're not actually linking them together at all." And then it did so it was shot fine, but then it just suddenly went to some of those really distinctive Sam Raimi camera techniques, like his craft stuff that he does, where like the shaking camera that zooms into an object really quickly and that kind of stuff. His stuff that was like in the original Evil Deads. Yeah. And I'm like, it was totally out of context. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's one of the things you do, but yeah, I don't know. It just didn't matter. Like,
that's a shame.
They had something there, but like it just seemed like a whole bunch of scenes tacked together. Some were comedy, some were not. Some were just pure, awesome horror, like when she's digging up a corpse and then she's like, "Take this, you bitch," and like punches the corpse and stuff like that. And then other ones, it's like bad acting. Then other times, it just went everywhere. It was then goes from different sorts of camera techniques to different vibes, different feelings. It just. It was just all over the joint, and it was like it was his first film. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was done by Universal, so I'm guessing it was like, okay, you're really good at horror. We want you to do a horror film. Here's a whole heap of money. Oh, you want to do practical effects? No. We do CGI. This is cool. This is what's on trend right now. And then it's just kind of didn't really work out.
2009. When did Sam Raimi make Spider-Man?
Spider-Man was like 2000, wasn't it?
9 years after Spider-Man. Because he might have, because he was working with like, Sony. So he might have been, or whatever, or Brothers, or whatever it is. He might have just been like, oh, these practical effects are great. They look great. And not realizing that he was on a team of the best, not practical effects, CG effects. He didn't realize he was on a team of the best CG guys ever. And then when he went to these guys are just, basically like coming out of film school. Like, the liquid. Sometimes, and there was liquids that were like pouring out, right? And then they were just disappearing in the air. Like, they didn't, like, keep falling to the ground or anything. They was just... Okay. And I'm like, oh, God. Check it out. Like...
So you telling me that I should rewatch it?
No,
or just give it a miss, wait another 10 years and rewatch it?
Yeah, just go onto YouTube and just look up certain scenes.
Just watch up the best scenes.
Watch up the best.
That's
it just... I gave it I gave it a 2.5. And that was just, like, that's pretty low for me.
That's pretty low.
I don't give films a 1. But I had a couple. The goat was funny, and the goat was a practical effect as well. No, it wasn't. It had some CG in it as well. Like there was, and there's like particle effects, like smoke coming out of things, and I'm like, why? You could just had smoke. Like they used a lot of CG in the film when they didn't have to.
Yeah. Okay. But it's really funny because this came out in 2009, which was the same year that Avatar came out. And Dilip Rayal is in Avatar as well. So when I think he was out here that year for Supernova or something.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough that when I did an internship with Film Inc. magazine, and one of the people that I actually got to sit down and interview was him. And it was really hard because I was meant to talk to him a lot about Avatar and, and all this, that, and the other. And I'm going to say it. Like, I hate Avatar. And I strongly, strongly, strongly dislike James Cameron. For many of you that know me, I go on my James Cameron rants all the time. But so I spent a lot of time instead talking to him about Drag Me to Hell. And he seemed a little bit more interested in talking about Drag Me to Hell than he did Avatar anyway. So that was so much fun.
Probably because he had just been asked so many questions about Avatar.
Yeah.
Drag Me to Hell, horror.
Yeah, this is something that I haven't talked about.
He was the shining beacon in that film. Like, when he came into it straight away, I was like, I like him. You know what I mean? Like, and then he acted great. All his acting was fine. Like, it was just, excuse me. Yeah, just yep. Let's move on.
Great.
Let's just move on. Bugger that.
Fair enough. Fuck that film. Yeah. Right. A lot of anniversary films happening at the moment. So not only
and also he killed the cat in it. He killed a kitten.
Don't kill kittens.
A kitten as well. It wasn't even a cat. It was a kitten.
Right.
And she just didn't care.
Film.
It's supposed to be her cat, and she killed it, and she's just like, I had to kill my cat. And like, you never cared. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Anyway,
no,
sorry.
fuck that.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
Don't kill kittens, guys. Just stop. Make better life choices.
Out.
Yeah. So, a lot of anniversary films happening. So not only was it the 45th anniversary of Jaws this last week.
Ooh, it's an old shark.
Fucking shark. If it hadn't have been blown up, it would probably still be floating around the ocean now.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I was going to give that a rewatch, but instead, Psycho turned 60, so I watched Psycho. I love Psycho.
Piece of Psycho. I've never seen this film, eh? I've avoided it.
Why have you avoided it, Dan?
No reason.
Just never got round to it. It's only one of the greatest, horror films of all time. One of the greatest directors of that time. And you just never got round to it.
Never got around to it.
Very
is it in black and white?
It is in black and white.
Yeah, that's why.
Purposely shot in black and white. Are you one of these people that can't watch it? Did you come out of Sin City going, "Oh, I can't watch that. It's in black and white"?
No, I did it. I did the Clerks though. I was like, "Oh, black and white." I'm so happy when Clerks 2 was in color.
The amount of people when I worked at Blockbuster that would hire Sin City and they'd come back like an hour later going, "This is in black and white."
It's not though. But Sin City has color in it the whole way through.
I know. Yeah, but they're the same people that come back saying, "I've hired this Japanese film and it's in Japanese." Yes, it is.
How good is Rosario Dawson in that? She's like the queen of the prostitutes.
Just let's talk about Rosario Dawson every day of the week.
We can.
The whole freaking day because I love her.
I watched Clerks 2 the other night as well, so I got to see her in her peak dancing without a bra form. Not that I approve of stuff like that, but
no, not at all.
But then
she's great. She is a nudist, I believe, as
in real life.
Daily. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw pictures of her taking photos of herself with no clothes on.
Yeah.
And I thought
that's just her.
Well, maybe I was just looking up. Maybe I was just looking up pictures of her naked. But
I think you googled naked pictures of Rosario Dawson.
Probably, it's highly probable. But
I don't know.
Yeah, but then then in bloody that new Jay and Silent Bob reboot, they use her and just have her as a completely new character. That makes no sense.
Yeah, that was a bit odd and not necessary. I think.
None of that film was necessary.
I didn't hate it though. I didn't hate it. I know you did, but I sort of came out of that going, you know what? I kind of, for what it was, I enjoyed it. It was,
it's just
nice.
It redid all the scenes from his other films, but it redid them not as good. How can that be a good film? But
I'm still waiting for Moose Jaws. He's promised to be Moose Jaws for fucking 10 years. No Moose Jaws.
Nah, I don't like anything he does outside of the View Askew universe.
Get your shit together, Kevin Smith.
I don't like. I hate Tusk.
You hated Tusk?
Yeah, I just thought. Didn't that have Longface in it as well?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, but it also had Haley Joel Osment, so there's that.
Yeah, nah, I just watched that and I just went. That's what I felt like when I was watching it. Waste my time. Yeah,
it really wasn't the best, but yeah. So, anyway,
back to Anthony Perkins.
Yeah, so I watched Psycho. You just can't go wrong with Psycho. It is a classic film. The story is amazing. It's shot beautifully. Janet Leigh is stunning. Just everything about it was enjoyable, and just chucking it. It's one of those films as well that you can just sort of I will sometimes just chuck it on in the background and have it sitting there. There's so much rich history to it as well. So one of the first films with a toilet on screen, and not only a toilet but a flushing toilet. How dare they? I know, right? Because there were all these codes and rules, and you couldn't do this. And the way Anthony Hopkins played Alfred Hitchcock. The way Alfred Hitchcock shot this film was there was so much that he wanted in it that he knew would be taken out because it wouldn't be deemed appropriate. So he shot a little bit more gratuitous scene before leading into that. And then they'd cut that scene out and he'd be like, great, I didn't intend it to be in there anyway. So then he got his way. But yeah, this film it's so much fun. It's really hard to watch now. I spent a lot of the time yesterday going, Anthony Perkins looks a lot like Andrew Garfield. And then that bothered me for quite a while.
Spider-Man.
Oh, it's Spider-Man. And then, yeah, so I was thinking, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to watch Psycho. And then, it's brought up. It's like, oh, hey, why don't you also watch the I think it was 1998 remake of Psycho? And then I just lost all my will to live. So
Did you watch it?
I did not. No,
Oh.
I saw that movie at the cinema. It was the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. Sorry, Gus Van Sant, you are a pretty good director. Otherwise, I mean, it had Vince Vaughn in that. What's her name? Lesbian, who's not a lesbian anymore, but she was back in the 90s. Anne Heche.
Oh, Anne Heche.
Yeah, like two of the most boring-looking people on the face of the planet are meant to be in this. Yeah, no. I would never again rewatch that film. So yes, that is all I have to say about Psycho. It's a fantastic film, and everyone except Dan in the world has seen it. Dan,
what about Psycho 2 and 3? Have you seen them?
I haven't watched those, but I really want to. I think I'm gonna. It's gonna be a thing.
I've got a poster for the third one. It's great.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very good.
Never seen it. Fake fan. Fake fan.
Fake fan. Whatever.
All right, let's move on to our movie of the week. Our homework. Homework edition. Or wait up. No, do we do no, yes, we do movie of the week now. Sorry, I'm getting confused on our sections.
That's fine.
I might do a little musical intro for movie of the week.
I like that.
Anyhow, so the movie we watched this week was The Hole in the Ground 2019. So it came out last year by Lee Cronin. And as I said before, the reason we kind of got onto this is because this is the guy who's been decided to remake Evil Dead. Remake.
Yes.
Remake.
Reboot.
Now, what did you think of this one, Jen?
Okay, so I attempted to watch this film, I think, last year, and I got really bored and had to turn it off. So you got to be in the right frame of mind for a slow burning horror. And I am not going to lie, I wanted to turn it off yesterday as well. But
again? Did you get to the end?
I did. I watched the whole thing, of course. I persevered. There was a lot of really good to it, but I don't think I was in the mood for something a little bit slow burning again. So it was
lucky because the main lady in it is super interesting to look at. Like,
can you tell me that she doesn't look like the original Becky from Roseanne?
I don't know what the original Becky looks like from Roseanne. Now you have to make me look
Google
it up.
And you'll be like, well, damn, she just looks like a blonde version.
What was there two Beckys?
Of course there was, yeah. So there was the original Becky, and then she went off to college, and then Sarah Chalke came in and replaced her as Becky.
Yeah, a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But I just found her really interesting looking. She had like these really weird full lips and this like her eyes, and just like she just looked really just unique, I thought. And I thought so she always looked confused, which was great for a horror film. But the story of this film is she's a single mum, has moved into a new town. I think they moved in? Are they just moved in?
Yeah, they've just moved to a new town.
Yeah, so they're escaping. She's a victim, I assume, of domestic violence. They've moved away, taking the kid with her. The little town. They move into this place, and that's the story. And then they find a hole out in their backyard.
Yeah, a big old hole in the ground.
Big hole.
Big old sinkhole.
First thing I noticed about this film is the opening was really nice. There were some beautiful shots.
It had a very Shining-esque vibe to it.
Yeah. Everything looked really nice. They used some really interesting lenses to film like forests and stuff, making them look a lot very wide shots that, you know, fit in all the trees without distorting them, and then it made it look quite surreal. They did, and this is the thing, they did the same shot, because I watched this and Evil Dead back to back. They both in the opening have a shot where it does the forest, and then the shot spins around and goes all the way upside down, so the forest is on the top of the shot.
Yes, okay.
And it did that in Evil Dead and I just watched them back to back. I'm like, oh my god, that's weird.
Yeah.
So but this is the same guy making the film, so he did the same shot, his own shot in a film twice. Maybe he has an upside down shot in every film he does. We'll just have to see for the new remake.
I found it very aesthetically pleasing. So, like, most people find the forest to be very creepy. I found it very, like, calming and relaxing. I'm like, yeah, this nice little forest. It's, like, a bit foggy. It's a bit grey out. Could put a sweater on right now. This is really nice.
Yeah.
I could live here. Yeah, with a hole in the ground and a creepy child. Sure.
I was watching it with my wife, Claire, and she was like, "Oh, it looks like out the back of Hawthorne Dean, like where she grew up. Like there's a pine forest." So to her, it was like, "Oh, it looked nice."
Yeah, it's very pretty. I found that the child was suitably creepy.
It was so basically it's a creepy kid film.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Core, and we can't. Well, we're not going to say what happens at the end. It's too new. But I did feel, though, that this whole film happened in the last 15 minutes of itself.
100%. So it's really tricky because I think we'll put a little possible spoiler little thing in the thing because it basically she believes that the child is no longer hers. It's an imposter that, you know, he goes out into the forest and
comes back and
he comes back and he's strange. He's very different. It's not acting the same.
But he's not strange in a way that's super strange to anyone else. He's just a different kid. You know what I mean? Like, so to everyone else, he doesn't know him. He's just a normal kid. But I liked that they talked about like a mother. It's only stuff mothers can notice. Like. And I liked that. I thought that was kind of cool and creepy. And I really thought, I'm glad they didn't go down the track of, because they showed her, you know, taking pills and stuff like that. And I fully thought it was going to be like all just about her losing her mind and everyone thinking there's something wrong with her. And they didn't really go down that track, which I liked. I was like, oh, thank God they didn't do that because it was really obvious if they were going to do that.
I think so. So I think there were two very specific ways that they were going to go. So I think taking the pills that she was experienced, I think is what they call it, catgrass syndrome. So it's when you believe someone isn't who they are, which I think goes along. Parents might get it. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I have no degrees. But then there's also like the folklore, which they never actually go into in the film.
I read this in your notes. And I said at the end of this film to Claire, that seemed like it was based on like a folklore or something, because it's all set in Ireland.
Yes.
We didn't mention that. Everyone's got Irish accents, Ireland accent, and they sound great. And she sounds great. So you got this really interesting looking Irish girl as the main thing. And I'm like, this is interesting just even to watch her talk. Yeah. But I did feel like it had a bit of like stuff behind it. But then you're saying, it did.
They never go into that. So, I mean, obviously, there is a hole in the ground, guys. She's going to go into the hole in the ground. I'm not spoiling that. She's going to go in that hole. We know it.
Did you find that bit weird? Like, it was just all of a sudden, because I've written in my notes, why did she go into the hole in the ground?
She goes, but all the films that I've watched recently, so there's that scene in The Stranger Things where she goes into the tree and then she goes into the upside down. And then when I watched The Wretched, they go into the tree, which leads them to the witch's like hideout.
Lair.
Thank you, lair. I was trying not to sound like
hideout. Base. The witch's base. Base of operations.
Batman. Yep. She's got like computer set up. She's like, right, I'm gonna get this fucking kid. He's over here now. Yep. Typing away at the computer. It's fine. So I think because they never actually talk about any of this, they don't mention any of the folklore to this, and then which means that we miss out on a fantastic research montage where she's Googling all this information. It just comes up straight away. I miss that. I feel that there was really no need for her to go into the hole.
Yeah, like it got to this point where she just goes, and it shows like a close up of her face. The next thing is she's running out there and going in. I'm like, what's she doing? Why would she think that the hole has anything to do with this? You know what I mean? Like at any time, it's like there was a scene cut out. There may have been a scene cut out, but there was a vital scene or shot cut out that a newspaper clipping that said disappearances near the hole or something. You know what I mean? Like, because the hole was quite big. I didn't mind it. I liked its subtleness though. Like, it had a whole bunch of subtle scenes and little scary things happening, but throughout this. But if you want cool subtleness and scary things, hey, you just watch Hereditary. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, this kind of felt like it wanted to be an A24 film, and I kind of think that A24 actually did. I don't think they produced it, but I think they kind of like maybe released it or something. I'm not sure, but it did feel like another sort of slow burny descent into madness kind of parental kind of thing.
it was very like Hereditary vibe. But then when you think about when I watch Hereditary, I never get any of those feelings that I got for this. You know what I mean? Like Hereditary, I'm just like captivated the whole time. I was just like, what's happening? It still had that madness thing. It still had the children thing. It had all that kind of stuff, and the subtleness of the hauntingness of it. If you know what I mean, like the little things happening in the background and stuff like that. But I just feel Hereditary did it a lot. I mean, Hereditary is one of my favorite films, so nothing's really.
I mean, there's a couple of really good scenes I found, like the spider scene was really well done. I think that was suitably creepy for anyone who has seen it. Like,
that was great because it really made a conscious decision to show that the little kid was really afraid of spiders.
Yes.
Like before, and then it just showed him like hanging out with the spider later on in the film, and playing with it, and then eventually, obviously, and then eating it, obviously, as like the cover of the video shows. But
that's not a spoiler. It's on the cover.
I did like the. They got a little bit of folklore. I'm wondering if that changeling folklore, the mirror thing, is that part of traditional Irish folklore? The changelings that shows their real reflection in a mirror.
I'm not sure. I would actually have to look into that, but because there was the gentle. So in the town there was a woman who was she's like the crazy lady of the town. Like, oh no, stay away from her. She's crazy. She basically experienced the same things that this lady is now experiencing. I like her that. Husband was like, oh yeah, she's like, our house is covered in mirrors every day for the last 30 years. She makes sure that I am who I am.
Yeah, I liked all that stuff as well. And I like the idea of seeing someone who, like, it was like you're watching the sequel to a film. Like, someone had already gone through all these events once, and that was one possible outcome that it could have been. So you knew at the end she wasn't just going to go crazy. It's
Yeah,
but
but I felt that there could have been a little bit more. I think they sort of, when a lot of films like, oh, what's scarier is what cannot be seen, and you make up your own decision and you come out of it thinking too much about it. That's what's going to scare you. For me, it's like, well, now I'm just really angry because I don't have the information I needed that I feel that should have been given, even if it was just a little bit more. It just wasn't there.
Now let's do a spoiler warning.
Cool.
So if you don't want to know what happens at the end of this film, stop listening now for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So stop now. Okay. So the people who have seen this film, let's talk about the monsters at the end. Number one, they look too much like Silent Hill monsters to me.
Yeah.
They were like, what? Don't show them. Like, you blew it.
There was like so many of them. There was like, it wasn't just like one or two. There was thousands of them. They're all just under there, just hanging out. Why haven't they come out yet?
Yeah. Oh, well, they were as changelings, but
Well, yeah.
Well, there was hundreds of skeletons down there as well, so obviously they've been doing it for a while.
Slowly but surely.
Which to me said that, I don't know what it was, but like I feel it shouldn't have showed them, and it should have showed her seeing them and reacting to them, running away like she did, and then something grabbing her leg, and then her arm, and then she looked and it was her.
Yeah,
that should have been the only time you saw them. Is one as her. That would have made it so much more interesting. Hey.
Yeah, I think so.
Because then you'll be like, oh, what is down there? Like, obviously they can change. But yeah, it was a CG mess. The monsters, they were just
it looked like one of them screamed at her, and I had to spend like 10 minutes on the internet going, okay, what's that album? Before I realized that it looked exactly like the Screaming Man from Pink Floyd's The Wall album. And I'm like, I just spent way too long looking that up for something that looked that bad.
Yeah, I thought that was Jump Sharky at the end. I was kind of like, nah. And
I guess it's, they've got to have that, well, you got to show the monster. You don't always have to.
You didn't, because the monster was the kid. Like, and I loved like when she got her kid back, and then she goes to the house, and he's still in there, the other one. And he's just like, Andy, and I was like, oh, that was great. I thought that scene where she's just kind of like standing there looking at the door, like, I've already kind of got my kid back. You can't fucking fool me, you dickhead.
Yeah, and I mean that's why. I mean, okay, like when we say why, well, like why the hell did she have to go to the hole in the ground? Like she's sitting there going, "Oh, this isn't my kid. He's probably in the hole in the ground. Now I'm gonna have to go fucking get him, that fucking kid."
Yeah, like you did, but she didn't know if that was her kid possessed by someone else. Like
well, she did because she held up the mirror to him.
And yeah, and that's all it needed to show, that mirror scene. And when you saw it just a tiny bit, I thought that's all it needed.
Agreed. Definitely. Agreed.
And now back out of the spoiler zone.
Oh, no, we didn't spoil anything. Oh, go. Yay.
Okay, so shall we go into some horror news? Woo!
Yes, let's do it.
We have the horror news. So, this week in news, Jem, what has been happening?
All right, so it looks like Hellraiser rights could revert back to creator Clive Barker in 2021.
Where's that? So that's over on Bloody Disgusting?
Bloody Disgusting. Brad Misker actually has published this post. So this comes from a Twitter tweet from Larry Zerner. And for those of you who don't realize, Larry Zerner was an actor in Friday the 13th Part 3. And obviously that did not go well for him. So he is now an entertainment lawyer.
Oh, I like that he has, how good's his tweet? Quote,
yes.
For those who like the Friday the 13th lawsuit, now...
That's a huge thing.
Yeah. Now Clive Barker has, now at Real Clive Barker, has sued for a declaratory judgment that he can terminate in 1986 transfer and get back his rights to the Hellraiser franchise. So
yeah.
Oh, so what is this? What is this lawsuit?
Which one? The Friday the 13th one?
Or just all of them? Yeah. Like what's going on?
Well, I mean, because Clive Barker, the Pinhead and the Hellbound Heart, he sold that off. So I think whoever's got the rights to that right now, they're sitting on this film. They're sitting on this like franchise, and a lot of the time they're not going to touch it. They just every so often they just pump out a shitty film, and that means that they can keep the rights for another.
That's why we keep getting the Hellraiser films that are just tacked on at the end.
Yes, yeah, that's part of the deal. Like you release this film. I think as long as you're releasing a film, you can keep hold of the rights or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not a lawyer.
I think within the contract it says you need to release, once, it'll be in the contract, you have to release once a year something that's to do with this content.
Yeah, so it looks like he's trying to get back the rights, which is very interesting considering that there is a
TV show
movie and a TV show on the way.
Is the TV show done by the people that have the rights now? Or is it not? Maybe it doesn't cover TV, it only covers film.
Well, quite possibly, because, I mean, Hellraiser is... So HBO are doing the TV show, and then Spyglass Media are doing the movie.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Clive Barker does get his rights back. Like, do you think he's going to sort of go, well, I'm going to do something crazy now? Or do you think he's just going to be like, nah, it's mine. That's it. No more. We're done.
Yeah, I don't know. I was in mid-read then. I was reading.
We can definitely post this to the Facebook page if you want to have a read, because this is it's a nice little piece of news, but also I'm not a lawyer and there's a lot going on, especially when it comes to all that lawyery stuff.
Lawyering,
yep.
So the good news out of this is we may get a new... I mean, if he wants, Clive Barker, he can reboot Hellraiser, and I'm fine with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, redo it again. Yeah. Like, technology's come along. Like, he did well Like you go back and watch Hellraiser 1, that film still looks great. Like all the people with their skin flayed off, the chains, how he did that chain effect of them coming out of nowhere and they just go rigidly. It always looked great. Like nothing really looked bad in that film. The puzzle box moving, the walls, when they came, like the Cenobites coming, like like the doors would open up where there's no doors and stuff. Everything looked great. So, I mean. I feel it's just going to look quite similar, just be grittier maybe. Maybe he can do a little bit more with gore these days that he can get away with that he couldn't back then.
I think so. But it looked really good. And I liked how it looked. And compared to some of the, compared the first one to the fourth one, which we watched recently.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it still looks better than the fourth one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first one still looks brilliant. I mean, when they send back the Cenobites at the end back to hell, and they just they explode in this orange light, which is clearly drawn frame by frame on every bit of the film. It looks a bit bad, but it doesn't look. It's not a deal breaker. You know what I mean? Like the monsters still look wicked. The pinheads are still there. There's no CG to age in it. If you know what I mean, the practical effects still look great, especially when they pull apart Frank at the end. That looks great still.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch Hellraiser soon, I think. It's gonna happen. Putting it on the list. High on the list. I got a lot of shit to watch.
True, everybody does. Especially now we have a podcast where we make ourselves watch this shit every week.
I know, it's fantastic.
All right, so what is news? I don't think we can go much further in this. We're not Lorians.
Nah, we're basic bitches, Dan. Like,
Yeah, when it comes to laws, especially.
There's like a whole thing. You've got 35 years or so. I don't know.
What would you like to see Clive Barker do if he retains the rights? Put you on the spot?
I would probably like to see him sit on it for a little bit, and then I don't want something just churned out for the sake of, like, well, I've got it now. Here's this thing. I don't know, maybe...
I'd like for him to do, like... Imagine he just does his own TV series.
I would really like... Actually, I haven't read the comics, and now that you've spoken a lot about them, and I was actually listening to someone else on a different podcast talking very, very deeply about them. They share the same passion as you do, so it's really fun to listen to. They were talking about the comics. They've actually, I think, authored some of the comics.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm interested in tracking them down, giving them a read, but if they're as good as everyone's saying they are, maybe an animated series.
Yeah, I always find horror dips in animation. Like, you think of what's a horror cartoon you think is good?
That's a very valid point.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. So, like, the new Mortal Kombat animated film apparently is quite good.
Yeah, but it's kind of not... I've seen that. It's kind of not horror. That's as gory as hell. It's hilarious. It's more... The Mortal Kombat cartoon that just came out recently is just a remake of the Mortal Kombat film. Like, basically every part of it, apart from, like, with some added Scorpions content in there. And it's good.
Well, yeah, it is Scorpion's Revenge or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't even think of a horror cartoon now that I think think about it.
Well, Evil Toons is clearly the leader of the horror cartoon.
Or Toon World. You remember that other one?
Cool World.
Pitt? Cool World with Brad Pitt.
World. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, apart from that, I can't think of any horror cartoons, to tell you the truth.
Right, I'm going to look into this. I want to know.
Horror cartoon. Yeah, I mean, like, the start, like, Creepshow had cartoons in them, in between the sections.
Yes.
That's about it, really. But they were really, I just don't think cartoons are scary. I just don't think they can be.
So I just like watching cartoons. I'm 35. I don't give a shit. I'll still watch cartoons.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, I will watch a cartoon over any film. If it comes on, I love my cartoons. Like, monsters and robots, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of I don't think a cartoon would be the best way. Maybe like a TV series of the comics would work because it's such a long game story that they could probably do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they need to get some of those really super thin, those, like the dude who does all the Pan's Labyrinth stuff, that guy that's in all the costumes.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, because he's
That
super
one guy.
thin. They need to get like someone really thin to do like the flay, the skinned people vibe. They could
Yeah,
make that stuff look so good now. It's so
it's true.
gross.
Okay, okay,
Ooh,
okay. Oh
down with
man,
that.
Hellraiser, bringing
Hellraiser,
it.
Hellraiser cartoon.
I'd like that, but then again, I'm probably just thinking of like episodes of Scooby Doo in my mind, and you just like insert Pinhead to it. I'm like, no, that's probably not what I'm
Is
thinking
that
of.
what you want to happen? You just need Scooby Doo Pinhead put into Scooby Doo, and that's what you want Clive Barker to use his rights
Yep,
with.
let's come on, Clive Barker. Let's do a Pinhead Scooby Doo.
You know what they should
Yeah,
do?
absolutely.
You know what he should do?
What?
A fucking video game,
Oh,
like, and
that's
just
an R rating right there. I don't think that would get released here.
but just I don't know what could you do? What would your pitch be for a video game? Would you play the Cenobites? Would you play like someone who's finding the box? Because you'd have to play a pretty strange person to even like, or just someone who gets tangled up in it. They have a lot of.
Well, there's the rules though. So, like, if you are someone who is not, if you've like come across this box and you're not,
Not
right mind or body, then they're not going to come and get you because they don't deem you to be not. I wouldn't say worthy, but they don't deem you to be in need of this.
Well, they did with Kirsty though in the first film. Like she didn't deserve it, and they came after her because of Frank.
That's true.
But
yeah, I don't know.
they
Like,
can make errors.
Well, yeah,
And
I think you could go one of two ways. Like, I think you could find the box and then be sucked into this experience, maybe, or that whole because I'm not as well versed in it as you are. So, what is the one where they go? They're the people that go to hell and hunt Cenobites.
Oh, the team.
Yeah,
Can't remember what they're called now. Put me on the spot.
You could be a Cenobite hunter.
Yeah, you totally could do that. That's kind of like, that's deep comic lore, as in the stuff, like I would shy away from that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's when it was kind of getting a little bit embarrassing. It was getting a bit ham-fisted, a bit clunky. But that's cool. You could have them. That's, what are they called? I've forgotten now. They're like the scavengers or something like that. I can't remember what they're called.
I couldn't even tell you. And I've heard a lot about it in the last week. So, yeah.
But they could go the way of something like not Silent Hill or like The Evil Within, where you play a kind of a fucked person, but you don't realize you're a fucked person. Like your character doesn't, like in Silent Hill, like you played the main guy, and in the end he was the fuckhead. Like,
I don't remember that.
In case you don't know, or it was like, wasn't it? He was always looking for his kid, and then in the end he was the one who killed his kid or something like that. Like he just lost it.
Oh, this isn't Silent Hill?
Yeah.
Is that Silent Hill? I've never
and like the nurses and all that was like his perverseness. Like, it was like directly who you are affects what was coming after you. Pinhead was like his not Pinhead, Pyramid Head was his like his sexuality that he was keeping to himself and stuff like that. Just not sexuality. I can't remember exactly, but all the monsters that are attacking in Silent Hill are metaphors created by the person who they're after.
I see.
That's why it never worked for some of the Silent Hills that the nurses were in the next ones on, because they were made up for him.
Okay.
So I'm just like, that doesn't work, in the lore.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I've never played Silent Hill. Just never got round to it. Kind of like Resident Evil. I've only just gotten around to it now that they're remastering them.
Oh man, and Village looks great. They announced that in the EA thing, so which is like what I reckon they fully should have done, because they remade Resident Evil 2, they remade Resident Evil 3 recently, and then they were coming up to Resident Evil 4, which doesn't really need a remake. Like, the only thing it'll be adding to it is better graphics, because it was kind of the one that paved the way into what they are now. So instead of that, they've gone and done 7. Is it 7 or 8? Village. I think it's 8. That 8. And they have it's called Village because you go to a village in this one. You play the protagonist from Resident Evil 7, but that was the storyline of 4. You went to a village and the people were all, stuffed up, but they weren't zombies, and that's happening in this, and it works perfectly. So they've just gone, instead of making 4, we've just made this new game, which is basically a homage to 4, and that's the best way they could have done it, and they've really done it. I think that's so good of them.
Sure.
That. And also, now they don't have to make 6 and fucking 5 and all those shit ones that were crap.
Well,
so now they've broken off and they can do their own thing from now.
Yeah, okay.
But still...
Very interesting.
Yeah. And it's horror.
I'll give it a play. I did start playing 3 recently, but then I realized I got about 10 minutes in. I'm like, this just feels too much like 2. I'll come back to it.
Well, the problem with 3 in real life, as in the original, is it wasn't just like 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just another game.
But I'd also literally just come off of sinking all my time into Doom Eternal, so it was very different.
Good call.
Yeah.
good use of time. Come on.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so second news story. Man, for me just about to say there was nothing to talk about, I just went on and on and on.
I know. That's fine. That's what I love. My bladder loves it too.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay, so Stephen King unveiled his best unused idea. Ooh. He did so on Twitter the other day. Again, a lot of Twitter. Friday the 13th, but from Jason's point of view.
So not a PO view as in a literal PO view. So the whole film isn't just from his eyes, like a first-person shooter killer.
No, this is from the Jason, killed over and over again at Camp Crystal Lake. What a hellish existential fate.
Or it could be more also starting from him being a kid and working up through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's meant to be a first-person narrative. I think he called it I, Jason. So that's, it's very, very interesting. I, Jason.
It does not sit well. What?
Yeah, it doesn't sit well with me.
It could just be called Jason.
It could. I think that's way better. Get rid of the I, just Jason.
Yeah, I mean they had and they were, because this is following along stories have been doing this recently, where from the villain's point of view, so stuff like Joker that came out recently, and stuff like that. So yeah, this could work.
Could.
I don't. It's gonna be a bit harder though in the fact he doesn't talk.
No, but I think that could be. Well, I mean, Stephen King's writing it. It's interesting. So what he says is the best novel idea I never wrote and probably never will is I, Jason. The first-person narrative of Jason Voorhees and his hellish fate, killed over and over again at Camp Crystal Lake. What a hellish existential fate. And then, of course, there's a whole heap of people that were tweeting at him, 7,000 people tweeting at him. And then he comes back. I think there was a lot. I did see it pop up before all this was part of the news because I follow him. And a lot of people were behind it and a lot of people were not behind it. So, and then he's just said, thinking about the legal thicket one would have to go through to get permission makes my head ache and my heart, that too. But gosh, couldn't someone tell Jason's side of the story?
He could just not call him Jason.
It's true. He could tell it from a completely different character's point of view. It doesn't have to be Jason.
No one would care.
No one will care. I mean, I'm sure there'd be some legalities if he was some, masked fiend at a camp by a lake killing people. But again, that's so many different slashes. I got a book recently and it was called, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was called Slasher Crasher. It was basically Halloween, but the two girls were the main protagonists and they fucked up this guy who escaped from a mental hospital.
All right.
So, there are ways, there are loopholes, and he's got the money to make all these loopholes pretty big.
The thing is, I keep thinking this is a film, but it's not. He's talking about a novel, which would work, first-person narrative.
Yes.
This probably would work as a novel. As a film, it would be a lot harder. You know what I mean?
Well, someone was saying, and I think a lot of people, and I kind of wish I'd have looked this up instead of going, you people and your internet complaining, that's fine. Apparently there is a film like this that does exist.
No.
But it's not like him dying over and over again at Camp Crystal Lake. It is a film from the perspective of Jason Voorhees. So something does exist. I can track it down. I'll track it up on the Facebook, and we can all have a chat about it there. That would be great. But yeah, so I mean, Stephen King doing it, I feel that it would be very interesting, but it just won't happen.
It'll be too long as well.
It
might be
will
a novella. It'll be like the Mist. Something like that he did. Like, yeah, nice short one. I like the Mist. Film and
It's
novel.
good.
And Half-Life.
And remake. I don't know, I haven't seen the remake.
We all know that Half-Life is based on the Mist, don't we?
I don't. I've never played Half-Life.
Oh. Yeah, so Black Mesa is where the Mist is coming from.
Ah, interesting.
So when Gordon Freeman starts up the experiment, that's what happens in the Mist. That's what's coming down from the mountain. Remember they mentioned like an army base at the top of the mountain? That's Black Mesa.
Yeah. Ah, okay.
And the monster that attacks him in the fog is the exact monsters that are in Half-Life.
Well, shit. See, I'm not well versed in many video games. There's very few video games that I play. And the ones that I do, I get really into. But yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, as well?
Something I've learnt today.
Oh. Right, so
yeah.
So we never worked out what we were going to watch this week for our homework.
No, I'm feeling The Burning might be I've got a burning feeling that we should check out The Burning.
The Burning?
I say this because it is a slasher. It's an early 80s slasher, and it stars a very young Jason Alexander.
Oh. Yeah, I'm writing it down now. The Burning.
The Burning.
Here is The Burning.
I think it's like 1981 or 1982.
When you just search for V, because you did Control V good enough.
Yes.
So yeah, hang on. The Burning. Was this the one I was talking about the other day that I said?
Yes. So when we both watched that 80s documentary, the 80s horror doc, which we've never spoken about this documentary, and it is really good, don't get me wrong. For 4 hours, I sat and watched the whole thing in one sitting, not a problem. I felt that they focused too much on franchise films rather than some of the other like deep cut films. But one of the films that they did mention was The Burning, and then you and I started talking about that in the shop, and I think then we started talking. We're like, oh, which is the one that had Jason Alexander? It's The Burning.
Yeah. So if people don't know Jason Alexander, it's George Costanza.
Yeah.
Have you got a computer in front of you? Can you just write The Burning into Google? And if you know how it comes up on the side, on the right hand side with like, the film, and it shows you all about it and shows you the cast. Yeah. The girl that's on the very left hand side, like Carrick Glenn, she has the longest neck in history. They have a really bad photo of her, and it just looks like a neck coming out from the bottom.
Oh my lord!
Oh goodness! Can you post that on the Facebook? That's such a bad.
That's a bad shot. Carrick.
The longest neck. So The Burning next week. That's good.
The Burning. And then that means that we're getting back into some 80s, because like I say, I've been watching a lot of new films, and they've all been super disappointing.
Oh.
Gotta get back.
We need to get back to the good vibes, the goodness.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yes, please.
A little bit of housekeeping now. So we have been TerrorVision Horror Podcast. You can catch us on all streaming services out there, all around the globe. So, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, all those other ones as well. We're on all of them. We also have a YouTube channel, so go search TerrorVision Horror Podcast over on the YouTube, and you'll find us there. We have an Instagram, which is @TerrorVisionPod. You can find us there. We also have an email. If you want to send us an email, tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, or how much you love us. We're terrorvisionpod@gmail.com. I know, and it's very, very professional to have a Gmail these days.
Well, it's better than a Hotmail.
Me, myself, a little bit of housekeeping myself. I also do a video game podcast with a bunch of other people over on YouTube called Hack the Dino. So it's a video though, so a bit of VOD, video on demand. So go over there if you like video games, if you like hearing my voice, if you want to see what I look like. I also do that with Ben Rosenthal, with Floppy Starrick and Braden Dixon. So go over there, sub to us, like us. And also, if If you're here, please, if you're listening to us on any of the podcast services, please drop us a review, give us a star rating, or even just comment. It helps us out so much. We would massively, massively appreciate it. Jennifer,
Definitely.
what do you want to housekeep?
Check us out on Facebook as well. So we do have a Facebook, TerrorVision Horror Podcast, also at TerrorVision Pod. We try and keep everything very similar. So some likes and follows would be fantastic. Please interact with us as well. Like, we do have, so far, everyone on our page are fantastic, and they interact with us on everything. They tell us what they like, they tell us what they don't like, and they interact with each other. And my mum interacts as well, which is like really great. I love my mum. But yeah, so please do that. We'd love to see more people jump on board. So if you know anyone who is into it and you're following us, please share it, share the love, get more people involved. You can also follow my terrible, terrible dumpster fire of a page, Trailer Trash Review. It is on Instagram and Facebook. When I have finished having an existential crisis about what the hell I'm trying to do with my life and this page, we'll get back up on board. But hey, you can show some support right now. Yeah.
So we have been TerrorVision Horror Podcast. This has been episode 7. Check us out next Tuesday. And until next week, may all your dreams be nightmares.